A ranger left for dead by ruthless poachers finds himself surrounded by a pride of wild lions, but instead of attacking, they stand guard. What compelled these apex predators to protect rather than prey? Discover the untold mystery of the savannah, and tell us, what do you believe really happened out there? The Zion Plains Reserve stretched endlessly under the blazing midday sun, a vast golden sea of tall grasses, twisted cottonwoods, and ancient, weather-worn rock. Here, in the untamed heart of the American wilderness, time flowed with the rhythm of nature itself. At the edge of this quiet expanse, a solitary figure moved with purpose through the dust and silence. Ranger Bradley Wood, tall and unwavering, had patrolled these plains for over 20 years, his eyes sharp and steady like polished flint. He was no stranger to the wild's breathtaking beauty or its harsh, unforgiving nature. Every step he took was deliberate, every glance purposeful, not just watching, but listening. The radio on his shoulder let out a faint crackle, yet the world around him remained unnervingly silent. No birdsong, no rustle of mule deer in the brush, not even the distant bark of a coyote, just stillness, too much stillness. But today, the land felt muted, as if something unseen was holding its breath. Bradley knelt beside a shallow ridge, running his hand across the sun-baked earth. Fresh tire tracks. Wide, deliberate, and cutting straight through the reserve's protected zone, tracks that no ranger had made. Rising slowly, his eyes narrowed beneath the brim of his hat. The wilderness was speaking, and he was listening. Bradley often said, "If you know how to listen," and on that day, it whispered danger. Bradley followed the tire tracks as they curved along the base of a dry gulch. His boots pressed silently into the dust. The sun hung high, burning through a haze of heat shimmering off the plains, but he moved with quiet purpose. Just beyond the mesquite, Cole spotted three masked men setting snares, traps clearly meant for a person, not wildlife. These weren't ordinary poachers. They moved with precision, laying something dark and calculated. His radio offered only static, and buried near the scene, a steel case with antenna wires confirmed his fears. As they moved deeper into the ravine, Cole followed, silent, alert, and unseen. Every flicker of motion, but nature is impartial, and the hunter may yet become the hunted behind him. A branch cracked, not under his foot. He turned just in time to see the blur of movement, an immense figure lunging from the trees. A gloved hand struck his temple, and the world tipped sideways into blinding light. Cole awoke, bound to a cottonwood, blood in his mouth, vision blurred, and the sun shifting overhead. His shattered radio lay useless in the dust. The poachers were gone, the clearing eerily still. A low growl drifted from beyond the trees, not a threat, but a presence. The plains fell silent, heavy with unseen eyes. Something powerful was watching. Bradley's eyes fluttered shut once more. As his body sagged against the trunk, the trap had been laid, and now whatever would come would find him utterly defenseless. From a brush came stirring low, deliberate, a rustle of thorny branches bending to something vast. Then they emerged, first the lioness. One by one, they pattered into the clearing, 5 in total. Moving with that unmistakable elegance, only lions possessed their coats. Shimmered gold beneath the midday sun, muscles rippling with quiet strength, and behind them like a monarch surveying his realm came the male. His mane was deep and thick. The color of sunburnt wheat, and dust scars marked his muzzle. Evidence of past battles, proof of dominance. His amber eyes locked onto the human slumped against the tree, called it not to stir. The lion's approach. Slowly, deliberately, they circled him not as hunters, but as curious sentinels. The scent of blood lingered in the air, mixing with the human sweat and the faint scent of poachers' machinery, but no teeth were bared. Instead, the pride settled. One lioness was slightly smaller than the rest, with a faint notch. In her left ear, lying down just beside Bradley, her flanks rose and fell calmly. Another positioned herself near the base of a tree, the other spread across the clearing, like sentries at a sacred post. There was no roar, no call, only breath and wind, and the sound of life holding still. What compelled these apex predators to protect a wounded human remains a mystery. One might say a mystery as old as the savannah itself, and then another presence. Hyenas drawn by the scent crept from the scrub in ragged formation. Their eyes glinted with malice, laughing, snarling, probing. But the lions did not move in fear. They rose, not in panic, but in power. Lions lunged forward with a bellowing snarl. Her teeth flashing like ivory sis, the male released a thunderous roar that echoed through the trees. It was not a fight, it was a declaration. The hyenas scattered, defeated before the battle even began, and so the human remained unconscious and untouched, surrounded, not by danger, but by an unlikely circle of protection at the Zion Plains Ranger Station. The midday hours slipped by with mounting unease. Ranger Catherine James, Bradley's longtime partner and friend, leaned over the communications console, listening to the dead silence on the other end of the radio. Bradley had not checked in, and worse still, his GPS tracker was no longer responding. She stood her instinct sharp. Something's wrong. By early afternoon, a search party was mobilized. 2 trucks, a medical unit, and a drum team. Catherine led the convoy, her eyes fixed on the sun-bleached horizon. The land she knew so well now felt foreign and uneasy. Hours passed near the southern ridge. They found his abandoned vehicle. The driver's door-jar radio was still faintly crackling nearby in the dust footprints. Bradley's boots led away from the truck, but they weren't alone. Others had walked there too, boots without regulation tread. Deeper, more erratic poachers. Further on, Catherine discovered discarded snare wire and the remnants of a broken drone antenna. Signs of sabotage. The bush grew thicker. The air is heavier than the air from the head. A sound halted the party in their tracks. A deep growl. They froze, listening more, followed by low guttural, unmistakable lions. Catherine whispered, but not in anger, not attacking. The pride was still there. Something or someone was keeping them anchored. The grass parted gently ahead as the ranger team crept forward, boots silent on the brittle earth. Catherine held up a hand, halting the others. The growl had ceased, replaced by something stranger stillness. Not of fear, but of reverence. And then they saw him. Bradley slumped and was bound to the base of a great cottonwood. His chest rose faintly with each shallow breath. But what stopped them in their tracks was not his condition. It was what surrounded him, the pride. 6 lions. 5. Lions are seated like the statue of old, unblinking and unmoving, and at the center, closest to the coal. The great male lion stood tall, maned, stirring in the breeze. His gaze was fixed. The rangers instinctively raised their weapons, but Catherine's voice cut through the tension. No, wait. She stepped forward slowly, carefully, eyes locked with the lion's. There was no malice in his gaze, no tension in his stance, only a kind of ancient knowing for a moment that stretched longer than breath. Man and beast stood in silent accord. And then with the slow dignity of a king stepping down from his throne, the lion turned one by one. The lioness followed, vanishing into the brush as quietly as they had come. Only when the last tail slipped into the grass did the rangers move. They rushed to Cole, cutting his bindings, easing him gently to the ground. His eyelids fluttered, a faint whisper escaping his lips. They watched over me. Catherine gripped his hand. The king of the plains had stood watch, and only when help came did he walk away. Cole Wood lay beneath the canvas awning at the field station, the golden light of afternoon streaming in through the flaps. His head was wrapped in white gauze, and a stilling drip hung beside his cot, swaying gently in the breeze. He was awake now, barely, his breath slow, his eyes are thoughtful. Fragments of memory returned like drifting leaves, the soft crunch of paws, the brush of a mane against his shoulder, and above all, the golden eyes that watched him. Not with hunger, but with something else. Something far older than fear. On the monitor, nearby drone footage played in silence. There, captured in sharp detail, was the image, a pride of lions encircling the unconscious ranger, forming a living wall between him and the scavengers that dared to come close. They didn't attack, they didn't run, they simply stood guard. Word spread swiftly, first to ranger networks, then across conservation circles, and eventually to the entire world. A ranger guarded by lions, a man left for dead, shielded by the very beasts so many fear. Bradley spoke little to the press about what happened, but to Catherine, he once whispered, it wasn't instinct, it wasn't hunger, it chose to stay. He never tried to make sense of it, nor did he seek to explain. Some moments in nature are meant for analysis. They exist solely for reverence, silent and sacred in a world ruled by teeth and claws. The narrator might say it wasn't fear that ruled that day, but something older, something sacred. In the heart of the wild, where life hangs by moments and instinct reigns supreme, a pride of lions made a choice. They did not kill, they protected. What happened next remains one of nature's most profound and silent miracles. What do you think of this story? Let us know in the comments section. I hope you like this story. Please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also subscribe and press the bell icon to never miss the update from our channel. Thank you.